the broker owner of Boston Connect Real Estate, a boutique firm that is home to over 30 real estate sales and marketing agents who service home buyers and home sellers throughout Boston, the South Shore, the South Coast, and Cape Cod. Our firm takes pride in assisting clients in the next chapter of their lives by taking a holistic approach to their real estate endeavors. We believe that every move should be a moving experience. Every week, my co-host Melissa Wallace and I will provide you with my team's unique marketing approach to selling homes and share with you our expertise in navigating the home buying process. We value the experience of our agents at Boston Connect Real Estate so much that not only will you hear my perspective on real estate topics, occasionally you will hear the expert thoughts and opinions of our experienced agents at Boston Connect Real Estate. Be a part of our roundtable. If you have any questions during the show, please call 781-837-4900. We love to talk real estate. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and wherever you like to listen to podcasts at Talk Real Estate Roundtable. If you would like a one-on-one consultation with me and my team to discuss your real estate needs, you can connect with me at bostonconnect.com or 781-826-8000. Now, sit back, relax, take good notes, and let's talk real estate. And good morning to all my South Shore neighbors. This is Sharon McNamara. You are, of course, listening to Talk Real Estate Roundtable. I am in my home studio here. We're in our new studio at the office over here in Pembroke Center, right across the street from where Stop and Shop used to be. So now I guess I have to come up with something different. Across the street from CVS and Ace Hardware. And I am here with my sidekick, Melissa Wallace. She is just getting us all set up and ready to go on all of our Instagram and Facebook and all our other social media venues. So you can watch us there if you want to. But of course, most importantly, listen to us here on WATD because we have the best producer on Saturday mornings. His name is Tim. Good morning.
Me? Me?
You.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies.
Little
morning.
you.
Saturday.
Happy
sunshine.
Saturday. Yeah. Isn't what a difference it makes when the sun is shining, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, I know. Why can't we take this rodeo someplace where it's always shiny?
Because we have chosen to be here
Okay.
in New England with all the seasons.
Well, thank
right?
you for reminding me that this was our choice. So
Maybe one day Boston Connect will be snowbirds.
yeah, I want to be
There
a
you go.
snowbird. Yeah. And
One
we
day.
embrace New England. We embrace the seasons, right?
Yeah.
We do. Actually, it's sort of nice. Like, the weather has been cold, but it really hasn't bothered me too much. I mean, we're not really in it. It isn't like, it isn't like we're hunting for food or anything.
No, we're not. I guess
yet.
things could be worse.
Not yet, at least.
Yeah, I know. So, it's been a really busy week. And then, Mel, God love you. When you get a little bit older, things are just so hard because, like, I pulled out my neck. And, oh, God, it's been terrible. Pulling out my neck is awful. You ever
Yeah.
do that?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I do it as much as you.
Well, I'm getting old.
I feel like you need like an adjustment every day.
Well, you know what? It happened like 3 weeks ago, getting dressed. I
Mhm.
mean, the weirdest things happen, right? I was simply getting dressed and I was like, oh, I guess that hurts.
Yeah.
And then that hurt. I remember I was borrowing your heating pad and everything else. And then I felt really, really good. And then I started going to Pilates. I'm trying to, do some time blocking, a little time for me. I really, really enjoy it. It's on the reformer, so it's on that machine. And
Yeah.
I like that, at 56, I'm going to be 57 in a couple months. It just feels like, I did some of those other places. I'm not going to say their name because they're great, but I always felt like I was in competition and they came out because they have a big screen in front of you.
That's what Mary liked, right?
Yeah, Mary loved it. She loves that competition and everything, but she's also, 20 years younger than me? But they came out to me one day and because you have to wear a heart monitor and they're like, are you okay? Because you're about to have a heart attack, whether you know it or not.
You have 911 on speed dial just for you.
Yeah. But I've been really, really enjoying doing the reformer thing. And I went this week and I pushed it a little too hard, maybe.
Yeah, Kristen Howlett pulled something too.
Oh,
So
really?
You guys are twins this week.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
It's just awful.
I think hers has something to do with they're getting a new bed, so
Oh,
their
yeah.
bed's a little too old.
Well, here's the good news. I was miserable all day yesterday. I went into the shower this morning and turned for the shampoo. See, that's the thing that gets you when you turn.
Oh, I can't wait.
You get a little bit older. You just turn for no reason at all. Well, today I turned to get the shampoo and I hear I was like, oh, there it is. So I think I got it.
There you go.
So I put a little, do you
You
smell me?
cured
Do
yourself.
I smell a little bit like Bengay with some CBD in it? 'Cause that's what I get on.
I don't particularly smell
boy.
that.
Oh boy, I had Tim
No,
say.
I just in this wonderful, Melissa, when you get to be our age, all the things you get to look forward to.
Can't wait. Yeah.
Where
Can't
there's
wait.
originals and the Andy Griffith Show. It would be wonderful. No, just kidding. Just kidding.
And Metamucil. No, I'm
Yes.
kidding.
Yes, keep you regular. Yes.
Exactly.
That's
But
funny.
yeah, so, and again, I'm just, I'm in the mood this morning for some reason. I'm a little chatty, and I know some people don't like it when I sort of go off on, why do we want to listen to Sharon McNamara? I did a transaction with that agent, by the way. Someone had sent a text message, and it
and
ended
said
up
that they
being an
didn't-
agent. Yeah,
yeah.
like we're sick of hearing about Sharon's personal life.
Well, guess what? They have the free will to turn it off.
You have the power.
You have the
within
power
within
to
your
turn
digits.
us
But I
off.
did a transaction with that agent, and it was extremely pleasant.
Oh.
Yeah, it was extremely pleasant. Well, because I had called him out on what he had said to me, so
yeah.
that made it a little easier. But he was really, really
Made
great.
it a little easier for you.
Made it easier for me. I don't know how he was feeling.
Yeah, he had to change his pants. It was he had an accident afterwards, but
No.
Someone bring him outside, please.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe as you get older, not only do your bones creak, but you lose a filter.
yeah. Oh, and by the way, I know what you said about me.
Yeah, I was like, here's the joy in listening to.
Thank you for your offer, and by the way,
Yeah.
I know what you said.
No, I had said something to him immediately that day. I had called him that day, and I just said, hey, I understand that you don't want to listen to my personal life. Just, listen in at like, I don't know, 1:15 or something. I mean, the news goes on.
Yeah, we're just giving you the news of our life.
This is how a lot of talk shows go. They start talking about what happened during the week first, and then they get into what the topic is for the day.
Well, you know what? I got a phone call this week from one of our listeners. We're actually going to be meeting him next week. Sharon's going to be meeting him next week, and he said that he listens to the show and he loves how real we are, and so you get you get both sides of the you get both sides of the fence there. So again, you have the free will to turn us off if you want.
But please don't. It's very interesting.
But please don't. Yeah. So he thought we were entertaining, and he's
there you
potentially
go.
going to be selling his house. So.
And Tim, let me ask you. So Tim has been with me since the beginning, when I started, right, with Mike McNamara. He has McNamara Money, which show is on right after us. And I remember, it's great to be in this place of comfortability. Is that even a word? I'm very familiar or very confident in my career and what I do as a real estate agent and as a broker owner. And so it's nice to be able to be who I am. Like you can see that. But I think people also understand that I am a professional. I do know how to do this business, right? Very successful in how many homes and everything that we sold. And but I remember at the beginning, Tim. I don't know if you remember back in the day. Mike McNamara, first of all, I was just afraid of him anyways. Like he's just so polished and so right. He's like the opposite of who I am.
Practice. Yeah.
Yeah, he's very, but maybe he's like where I am today, right? And I remember the first time I showed up, I had on a blazer. I had on all dressed up. I know it's radio, but you got to feel the part to be the part.
Yeah.
I had a 3-ring binder. You know who I felt like? The press secretary. Not like the one before this one. Remember she had that big notebook?
Oh yeah.
And she would say, "What was your question?" And then you flipping.
Flip to section 9, page 33, paragraph 4.
I would have my hands under the table and I would be shivering, not because I was cold. I was just so nervous. And I was like, and remember, Tim, back in the day, do you remember Mike McNamara? Again, McNamara Financial, McNamara Money here on WATD. He used to always do he'd test me. He would test his I was going to say his contestants, but it wasn't a game show because I didn't get any money at the end of it. But his guests. He would say, "What percentage do you think this is?"
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember?
He still does some of those quizzes now.
Oh,
yeah.
does he?
Oh, but yeah, he put you right on the spot.
Yeah. And I'd be like, "Oof."
I'd be like, that is a great question, Mike.
I will get back to you next
It
week.
depends.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the side of it depends.
Can I phone a friend?
I know.
Please. 50-50?
And back to you.
And it depends.
Yeah, back to you. Yeah.
Yeah, it depends. We're right back to the original conversation this morning. So with growing old, it
Yeah.
depends. Yeah,
It depends.
yeah. But I used
Is that
to.
a depends joke?
Yeah.
Is that a pun?
You say, hopefully you don't need any, huh?
Hopefully you don't need any.
Oh, I don't need them.
Oh my
I
gosh.
know.
Sorry.
No, but yeah,
We love you, Melissa. We do.
yeah,
We really do.
exactly. But with those quizzes, I wouldn't mind if he quizzed me on like real estate, like I was his real estate expert, but he would quiz me on his stuff. And I remember like when I got a little more confident and not so afraid, I would say, well, that's what I have you for.
Yeah.
Like you give me the answer. I have no
Yes.
idea.
Well, that's a good way to put it back on.
Yeah,
And back to you.
I know.
That's what I have
Well,
you
you know,
for.
I don't know how much you believe in payback, Sharon, but what you could do,
Yes.
because he quizzed you, maybe you could quiz
That's
him,
such
come
a
up with some of your
great-
top
that's-
real estate questions.
That is
and-
such a great idea. We should.
Mhm.
We haven't done a back-to-back show in a while. I've talked to Alyssa about it. So, Alyssa, if you happen to be listening, I don't know if she probably has a game or something with one of the girls today,
Mm.
but we have to schedule a back-to-back marathon. So, I have to tell you, a lot of times we come in here and I'm like, geez, I wonder what the topic is today. But I have sort of an idea because we discussed it. I'd say today's like the first day that I sat down in this chair and I was like, And I looked at our board, which is over there. The truth behind unsold homes. I love
Yeah.
this, Melissa.
Yeah.
You don't need me at all for this.
Oh, well, I mean, I could talk to Tim for the next 40
Yeah, all right.
minutes.
All right, we'll see
Tim
you
and I
later,
can do the show.
Sharon. Okay, bye.
Yeah, I mean, we've always talked about how we come up with a lot of our topics from everyday life. So recently, I've had discussions with a few of our agents about homes that have been on the market for a while, and either they're currently doing a market analysis for a property, and there's a property around that one that has been on for a while. We talk about it a lot with new construction and how long it can take. So it's not necessarily negative, and I think that it does have a negative feel to it of why a property doesn't sell. I recently had a conversation with an agent and I just asked like, well, what's the motivation for your seller? If they have more time, then yeah, sure, test the market. But if they don't, then price it accordingly and price it to sell. So motivation is a factor, but also the type of property it is. And we'll get into all these things. But we did have somebody walk into the office. One of our agents, Ginny Wandell, who is a full-time realtor here at Boston Connect Real Estate. She has some land here in Pembroke, and it's been on the market for a while. But it's been on the market for a while because, somebody needs to come in and do something with it.
Yeah, it's a very unique type of property, and it's going to take somebody who can think outside the box in order to make it something more than what it is, right?
Right. I mean, right now it's just trees. So somebody has to come in and put a road and electricity
And there's some wetland issues.
Yeah. So there's factors that can cause land in particular to not move quickly, and honestly, you need somebody who has the money in order to move forward with it and has the vision and sees what could be possible. So we did have somebody come into the office and was just curious of why it's been on the market, and had they considered senior housing or veterans housing and stuff like that. So we definitely connected that gentleman who walked through the door with Ginny, and I know that they had a conversation about the potentials of that. But it was curious enough for him to stop by and say, hey, like, what's going on with that one?
Yeah, and it's interesting too because he probably was just somebody who wants to see, growth in our community and to see something good happen with it. And I'm really hopeful that, with this administration, not that the other administration ignored it, by the way, I'm just saying that with this administration, with him having a background in, in real estate, maybe understanding, the huge problem we have, and we've been discussing it week after week, is that there's this lack of inventory. And I mean, last week we went right off topic because that's what we ended up talking about, is this lack of inventory. And in order to sort of stifle that, we need to get more construction. We need more new construction. We went to a little get together that Shant had from Guaranteed Rate, who's wonderful, by the way. We have to reach out to him to see if we can get him on here as a guest as well. He had somebody who was saying like how many homes we need to be building in order to keep up with population and everything. And home ownership and making it affordable, that's the only way we're going to make it more affordable for people, is to have more of it, right? So then we don't have that emotional value that goes with it. But I'm really hopeful that in order to build on properties like that are a little bit unique, that perhaps we'll see changes in government where it's the permitting process isn't as much as it is and isn't as difficult as it is, and all the barriers that you have. I do a lot of new construction, Stonebridge homes out of Southeastern, and I have 2 developments with them. One in Hanson, Cushing Trails, which is duplexes, and one in West Bridgewater, Cochise Estates, which is duplexes and single families. And I know that we had a meeting a couple weeks ago, and they've been working on one in Avon for years, years, trying to like get the road, get to there's another one in Lakeville, and trying to get that. Unfortunately, I feel as if there is this mindset of not in my backyard. And I feel like people can't have it both ways. Not in my backyard, meaning you don't want to. People are afraid of 40Bs, and we should do a show on 40Bs as well, because I think that people have the wrong idea and impression of what that actually means. But once we are able to bypass some of those barriers at the local level, we'll see more building, and that's what will happen with Jenny's property.
Yeah.
That maybe they'll be able to get through all that red tape.
Yeah. So why don't we just dive into some of the reasons why properties don't sell, or sit on the market for a while. So number one, obviously, I feel like is overpricing the property.
Yeah.
So why don't you talk about the importance of pricing the property to sell, and what the motivation would be for sellers?
I love this because you know how I am when I do my CMA, so a comparative market analysis, a pricing analysis. It's so funny because my CMA has gone over the years of my career, has sort of swayed from this is what I can do for marketing and this is what I do for advertising, and like making it all about the fluff, when it really has nothing to do about the fluff. It has everything to do with the data, right? It's just about the data. And I really dive in deep with all of those numbers and how you get to where that number is. And in my career, 22 years, I guess, I've seen how it has switched. And it does switch with whether it is a buyer's market or a seller's market. But one of the things it used to be is, oh, just put it on the market for this much and let somebody throw me an offer. So let's just say somebody's house was worth 500. Sellers would say, well, let's put it on for 525, 550. Let somebody throw me an offer.
Yeah.
So the hope was that the buyer would come and offer them 500. So they ended up where they wanted to anyways, right? But that is not the way that it is anymore. And the reason why is because of technology. It's really that simple. Now you can stand in front of any home. I have, my phone. I stand in front of homes when I'm a buyer's agent, and I pick up, this one app I have. It's called Land Glide, which is awesome. If you pick up Land Glide, it will tell you, I can see like what the assessment is on the house. I can see the last sale that was on the house. I can pick up your neighbor's house. There are other apps where I can pick it up and it just shows me, geolocates me, and it will literally tell me how much every house around me sold for. So buyers are more equipped with the information now, where before, like, you had to like meet with the agent, and then you would have to trust that your agent would tell you where that range should be based on sold properties. So I always say price your house right, because buyers are going to see it. And if you're overpriced, people will say, oh, I'll just wait until the seller gets realistic. One thing I know for sure is you can never underprice a house in this market.
Yeah.
You can't. It's like water. It's going to seek its own level. If you're I give a range. If you're on the lower end of the range, you'll get more people through the door. Ultimately, I think the house is going to sell for the same exact amount. There's going to be that one person who's willing to pay a certain amount for it, and that's all based on emotional value, which I have no gauge.
Yeah, there's no gauge with emotional value. I think also with overpriced homes, they get fewer showings and, price reduction. So why don't you talk a little bit about what the misconception or conception is of price reductions. So when you see a property that's been on the market and it keeps doing a price reduction, what do you think as a listing agent, as a buyer's agent, and what do you tell your clients?
So that is interesting because as you were saying something too, you get fewer showings. Not only do you get fewer showings when you're overpriced, I also think that you have more critical buyers.
Yeah.
Right? So the buyer is going in there realizing, well, this isn't really the value of the house. Let me find what's wrong. Right?
Yeah.
And I also think with, like when you're reducing the price, the first thing everybody always says is, what's wrong with it? What's wrong with it? What's wrong with it? And generally speaking, there is nothing wrong with it. It's just
Was the price.
It was the price. And I was looking at something yesterday. One of my clients had called me and they thought that they had seen something. I had met them over at this a certain development in Pembroke, and they thought that they had seen a coming soon. So I looked everywhere, couldn't find it. And I did notice that there was one in that development, similar style, just a different style, more of a townhouse style with no garage. And it's been on the market for over 50 days. And in my head, I never thought, what's wrong with it? I just thought, well, that's a shame. And a lot of times, too, I think that, and we talk about this all the time, Mel, we always go back to this, having a professional real estate agent by your side, whether it's me and Mary, whether it's somebody else from Boston Connect Real Estate, whether it's from some other company, having that advocate with you and looking up what the comps are and what the value of the house is, that agent should be able to tell you. Because one of the things I recognized when I looked at how many days that house was on the market, it didn't take me very long to calculate where we were 60 days ago. We were in the midst of holidays.
Yeah.
So when that townhouse went on the market, unfortunately, there probably wasn't a lot of eyes and focus on it. And when we put something in MLS, it only stays new for 48 hours. Then it goes active. And I'm afraid that once it goes active, unless you're really, really searching, you're just going to sort of bypass it.
Yeah, I agree.
And have your agent call and just say, hey, Sally, this is Sharon McNamara calling from Boston Connect Real Estate. I have a client that's interested in your property. I noticed that it's been on the market for about 60 days. Anything in particular going on with it that I should be aware of?
Yeah.
No, I put it on freaking the week before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
That's what I would
Sometimes
say.
it's just timing, and that's exactly what I told an agent the other day was, well, have you called the listing agent to see, what's going on? Because it's okay to ask. You're allowed to ask.
How have your showings?
And you
how
should
many
ask
showings?
if you have a client who's interested.
Yeah, how many showings have you had? What has the activity been? What has the feedback been?
Yeah.
I mean, it could be something, it could be, we've had a lot of showings, but unfortunately we have high tension wires in the backyard that touch the back deck. Like you can't see it in the picture because I illegally AI'd them out.
Or I just purposely didn't put that photo
I didn't
in.
put that photo in, and when everybody got there, that's when they recognized it.
Yeah. I mean, you had a property that had high tension wires behind it a couple years ago, and that was the feedback that you received.
I did. Which one was that?
Duxbury.
Oh, yes.
So,
right next door. Yeah.
Yeah. So, that was something that it came up in everybody's feedback. I had done a couple open houses over there. It had been on the market for a little while, and it was essentially because of that. It wasn't necessarily because of a lot of other different factors, but some people just preferred not to have it in their backyard. Okay, well, on to the next.
Yeah.
And eventually it did sell. But yeah, that was something that if somebody didn't ask and then they showed up and then realized, then they probably would have been disappointed. So just pick up the phone and ask, hey, what's going on with this one?
Yeah. And also, I mean, as a buyer's agent, call the other agent. And, here's the thing is being in the business as long as I have been, I have a lot of friends in this industry. We just, here's the thing. We are colleagues. We just, we might be in different companies, but all that means is we have different color logos, right?
Yeah.
But we really are all colleagues doing the same thing. And hey, I hope if I have a listing that they have a buyer. If I have a buyer, I hope they have a listing.
Yeah.
And I think more agents need to, think that mentality. But I also think too is, for buyers, when you see these things and you do a drive by, and you say, oh, I see these high tension wires. Like, we lost a lot of showings because of that. But, have your agent call the listing agent and say, do you mind sharing with me what the motivation of your seller is? Like, what's going on? How has your client, like, how has the seller, like, has anything come up that this seller is aware of? Anything that is like hazardous, it has to be disclosed.
Right.
And do your own research, because, everybody who would come in would say, do oh no, I know agents would call me and say, well, do you know what the impacts are of like high tension wires? I was like, no, I'm not a scientist, but like there's this thing called Google.
Yeah. Feel free to do your own research.
Call
and if
National
it matters
Grid.
To you, then
call National
move on.
Grid. And that's the thing. It's all, your perspective of what's important to you. My client has lived here happily for 10 years and there haven't been any problems with them. Does that mean there's not going to be any problems with you? No, because you could have brought your problem with you.
Yeah.
Right.
You could have brought you could have packed up your problem.
Yeah, you could have been living in a house that had radon, which is the second leading cause of lung cancer. You didn't realize that it was, in you, and then you moved into a house next to high tension wires, and what are you going to blame?
The microwave.
The high tension wires, right. So.
Oh, gosh.
I'm going to give our phone number, too, because we didn't do that at the beginning. So you are listening to Talk Real Estate Roundtable. I am Sharon McNamara, of course, the broker owner of Boston Connect Real Estate. I'm here with my sidekick, Melissa Wallace. As you know, she is the Director of Operations and Agent liaison here. 781-837-4900. Tim is in studio at WATD. So if you have any questions for us, feel free to give us a call. It doesn't have to be about this topic. It can be just about anything if you want. I don't even care if it's just about real estate. I mean, it can be
If you
want
to see how the rest of our week was, we only got through 1 or 2 days. So if you want to know anything else.
I mean, if we have time later, I'll tell you. I went to Maureen Hancock last night in Norwell, and that was really special. Oh, speaking of her, yes, I can bring this right into real estate. She had told me that, not me. I felt like it was just me and Maureen
it's
hanging
just you
out.
and I, Maureen.
Just me and Maureen Hancock hanging out, She is hilarious. If you have not seen her, she is a medium.
Yeah.
If you have not seen her, put her on your bucket list. You can also follow her on Instagram. It's probably like Maureen Hancock something. And she has a book out and everything. She's not paying me to say any of this, but if she wants to give me a free reading when she hears me, feel free to do that, because you didn't pick on me last night. But there was a lot of sort of things around me that I was like, I wonder if she is coming my way, but whatever. But she was hilarious last night. But she was telling the story of when she was younger, lead paint used to taste like sweet, and that kids would like chew on the windowsill and stuff like that. And she ended up in the hospital, and she ended up in a coma, and she was in the hospital for like 3 years. And it was her mother that actually put the bill together to outlaw lead paint. And she went to the Senate, and Ted Kennedy said, nope, we're not doing this. And she's like, oh, you don't know who you're messing with, Ted Kennedy, because yes, this will get passed. And that's how the lead paint law got passed.
Wow.
So, and then she was funny. She goes, so all of you who can't sell your house right now, that's because of my mother.
Well, it's funny because I do sort of follow her on social media, because and we're diverting right here, but have you seen the judge for the Karen Reed trial? Looks like Maureen Hancock. And so everyone's like, is that Maureen? When like the trial first time, is that Maureen Hancock? Is Maureen Hancock now a judge and everything? So now she does these like parodies of being like, okay, I am not the judge, but let's play along for a little bit. So it's funny.
I heard about that. I haven't seen it, so I'm gonna have to look at that later.
Oh gosh. So next one I want to talk about is poor home presentation and lack of curb appeal as a reason why. I think first impression is you never get a second chance for a first impression. And a lot of the times it's with photos. And I just remember when I was looking for a house, I would come across these properties that I was like, am I really going to go and see this? Like the photos were so awful. And I'm like, okay, well, I can see you taking a photo with your iPhone in the mirror. So is this gonna, like, what is this? Or there's stuff everywhere. So I just think that the presentation of the property too, and this really does lean into hiring a professional and what that professional brings to you as a seller and selling your home.
And, as you were saying that, Do you know when you talk, do you notice I doodle? Yeah, that's an ADD thing.
Mm.
Yeah, that's me like concentrating on what you're saying. Just so you know, it's not that I'm not listening. It's like I am really trying to.
And anyways, back to my flower.
No. But when you were talking about the professionalism of that, it's interesting because I think in my head, I'm saying, what makes a professional, And I think a professional in our industry is someone who is able to and is willing to tell you the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that unfortunately, there are agents who will tell you what you want to hear.
Right.
And I am not that agent.
Mm-hmm.
That is not what you're hiring me for. You're hiring me to let you know this is the best way to sell your house. My experience is going to shine through when I tell you and mention to you, when I walked in, I initially smelled dogs.
Mm-hmm.
I just say this to people. When I walk through your home, when I'm doing a CMA, I walk through your home as the eyes of the buyer because buyers are looking for what's wrong. They're not looking for what's right.
Mm-hmm.
They already found out what was right. They like your house enough to be in it now.
Yeah.
They saw it online.
Yeah.
Now they're inside the house. And then those one-offs that have the terrible pictures. They're like, well, there's nothing else on the market. This is in my price range. Let me just go and look at it. And how many times have there actually been maybe times when people are like, wow, this actually looks and feels better than how it presents, right?
Right.
So, and I know that that's your next topic here, and we'll talk more about that, how to present it and market it and everything. But I think listening to your advisor is the person, to, and if somebody comes in your house and you know that it smells like dog and you know that it's a mess and you know that there's like, just you need help and they come in and say, oh, don't worry about it. Buyers are going to buy anything right now. That may be true, but if you want top dollar, if you want to be, get top dollar for your home, these are the items that I suggest that you do.
Yeah. And a lot of the time sellers are saying, oh, should I do this? And a lot of the times we say no because it's like, oh, should I do a renovation of my kitchen? Well, if you're not going to enjoy it, you're not going to get dollar for dollar back. So leave that up to the buyer.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's one of the other things too is, okay, if you feel as if your kitchen and bathrooms need a renovation, have you been maintaining, do you have a newer roof? Do you have a newer heating system? Do you have a newer water heater? Like that's where the professional agent comes into play, where they say, all right, now I see what the buyers are seeing wrong. Let me combat that with what is right.
Yeah, because when I was looking, like I would rather the mechanicals be up to date or in working order than some of the cosmetic stuff because everybody has different tastes. So I would rather somebody maintain all of the mechanicals, throughout their home ownership and then, have an updated bathroom where like you can walk in and be like, well, why did they do that? Like weird.
And even like last week's show, I had sort of predicted that we'll probably see more homes where people have been living in them for 50 years.
Yeah.
I feel like we're going to see some movement in that demographic. And, that generation was, that older boomer generation. It was like, you don't fix it unless it's broken.
Yeah.
Right. And, in your house, I mean,
they lived in it for almost 60 years.
Yeah. But, mechanically, things are sound, I mean, there are definitely things you have to do to it. But, we got, Kevin Senna in there, my painter, and you got your cabinets painted and freshened things up and everything works, right? You can cook, right?
Yeah, I can cook. Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah. So does Ethan. We tag team sometimes. Yeah. So, it was I also trusted like Mark has done some work there and we, walked through together and, he showed me how to turn the water off in my house and stuff like that. So, I was comfortable with everything that mechanically was going on in my house and the cosmetic part didn't bother me at all because A, I like character and B, I was going to be able to make it my own. So the cosmetic part of my journey like really didn't matter to me. It was more, okay, have they maintained things? And I went into my home ownership as okay in the next couple of years I'm probably gonna have to replace my roof. I'm gonna but that was something that I already sort of had in my mind anyways. So, it's good.
It's so funny because you didn't, like you say, you looked for houses that had character. I think you liked quirky.
Yeah, well, yeah, a little bit of quirky.
I remember one house that had like the big vaulted ceilings and everything, but like, remember they were like the walls in the bedroom didn't go all the way to the top.
Oh, that was the one bedroom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I almost bought one, which we would have been busting at the seams already.
Oh yeah, I know, right?
Even with 2 cats. Well, and I even think, there was a house in Halifax that we had visited a couple times, and I really did consider that one, just mainly because of the price point. And that had sat on the market for a little bit, and the reason why that property had sat and had done price reductions was the size of the house. I think it was like 600 square feet.
Yeah.
So it was there were some things like the price was really great, but the size was really small. It didn't really have a basement. It was a crawl space, and it had a really old septic system. So those were the factors that I was like, no.
And it's like, sorry, first impressions matter. And I think that, as a buyer, I think that people should sort of get over that. Because like with your house, like I don't know that you particularly like the exterior color of it, but you still went inside. So like at least you have vision of what you can make it, right?
Yeah.
But again, everything else being sound in the house, that's what matters most.
Yeah.
Excuse me. One of the things we were talking about, I'm going to try to get this hooked up again with my friends in Clubhouse, but just haven't had time to do that with our studio equipment here. But I was listening the other day, and they were talking about like with the first time home buyers, and how they're sort of being eased out of, like, pushed out, actually, not eased out. They're being pushed out of the market just because, where the rates are and things like that. And it made me think. And as I was thinking, I said, no. As I was thinking, I was just like, the rates where they are right now, where are we hovering? Like high sixes, low sevens, right? And it seems high based on what we saw. Right. But what we saw at those 2.5%, 3%, 4%, that is not a normal. That's not normal. I mean, that was done on purpose in order to sort of invigorate, the world right after COVID. And I was thinking about it, and I that's my whole thing right now. I'm big on perspective. I must be getting old. It's called wisdom, right? But anyways, I'm sitting back, and I was thinking about it, and I was like, buyers can still buy. Even if it's 7%, right? You can still buy. What I think you need to do is lower your expectations. This world is not like HGTV is not real. It's fake.
Yeah,
it is fake.
Well, I was fortunate that the whole HGTV thing never even was a factor for me. I don't care about that. So it was, and I ended up in the sevens for a rate. So I was, like you said, was looking for something with character and quirkiness, and those houses are built, before the new constructions of the world right now. So they have the character of, the 60s, the 70s, things like that. That was something that I was interested in. And that's what I ended up with. So my house was built in 1964, and and it was one owner. And so the thing is that a lot of people are like me, looking for somebody who has been in their house since the 60s and are ready to move.
And just loving that house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, it came with so many memories and everything like that. I mean, that's sort of the hokey part of me thinking about that, but they also took care of it and lived in it that long,
Because, the people of that generation did take care of their house and have been taking care of their homes. So it's when those properties come on the market, those ones really do get a lot of attention, I'll say.
And that's what I think we need more of with the buyers is you can buy with the rates being this high. It's just you have to lower your expectations because, and when I brought this up on Clubhouse the other day when they were talking about it, I was like, oh, I just want to make one point. Like, buyers can still buy. They just have to lower their expectations of what they want. And you're much better off buying a property like yours because, Mel, every penny you put into that house is you earning equity.
Yeah.
If you wait for a house to come on the market, that's $100,000 more because your rate dropped and you're paying $1,000 more for a house that's completely, done over,
Right.
you're giving somebody equity.
Yeah. Yeah. Michelle Fay, who's a full-time realtor here at Boston Connect Real Estate, is watching us on Facebook. Hello, we're waving to you.
Hi.
She says, this is such a great topic. Seeing potential of a home is so important for buyers today, and getting past the idea that everything has to be shiny and new.
Yeah.
She has a new property coming on the market in Bourne. I think maybe next week. Correct me if I'm wrong, Michelle.
I'm glad Michelle's watching. Michelle, I owe you an apology. I pulled my neck out and I ended up sitting on my chair with a heating pad and Bengay that whole entire day. I couldn't even see straight.
Well, she had said, "Oh, I think she said that she was coming in the office today," and you had just sent the picture of you sitting in the chair with and so in my head I'm like, well, she's currently sitting in the chair with a pulled neck, with a heating pad and Bengay.
It
So
got worse and
I don't think
worse
she's
and
coming in.
worse. Yeah. So sorry about that, Michelle. But Mel did tell me that you were able to connect her. I see Dee is watching. Hi, Dee.
Hi, Dee. Yeah, I mean, and we're not saying lowering expectations where you buy something that's like totally not like that you're going to regret. But
don't lower your standards.
yeah. But yes, okay, so there's a difference between lowering your standards and lowering your expectations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, God, that was good. Huh? Give me like a knuckle on that. Oh,
Oh my God, you have a boulder right there. You just hurt me.
I'm sorry.
My God, I heard you cracked my finger with that. Can I get workman's comp?
Sorry.
Oh my. Iceberg right ahead. Oh.
And Dee is saying like, oh, we're in Bourne near the water. So yeah, we can get you connected. Yeah, we can get you
she says yes,
connected.
posting in Bourne is coming on next week. So
Okay, perfect.
yeah, so we talked a little bit about low quality listing photos and poor marketing strategies. So we got into that with hiring a professional, making sure that your listing photos do look like your property.
Yeah, and one of the things, if you are watching on Facebook or on Instagram or anything, I saw this flyer. So it's nice quality. I walked in today, and Mary and I have a new listing at 523 Washington Street, Unit A2 in Pembroke. And I know an offer came through yesterday, but I don't know.
Oh, nice.
I don't know the status of it, but I know that they're probably waiting to do the open houses this weekend. But I came into the office this morning and I looked and I was like, wow, this flyer came out really nice, and did you point to that to Homes in Pembroke?
I'm going to. I didn't know how to, so
okay,
I have to
yeah.
ask you.
All right, yep.
But nobody's seen it yet.
Yeah. So, I mean, but like that's the difference is like, having quality products, having quality marketing. I think that that's really, really important as well, because when your agent can show care and, consideration for your property, I think it goes a long way too.
Yeah. What else is on my list? So, unfavorable location or neighborhood perception. So this is something that you can't change about your property, is the location that it's in, unless you put it on a little
Yeah, I know.
dolly and
Move
roll it somewhere else,
Mhm.
which they used to do. But that's something. The location is a factor in determining a sale price for your home, and that is something that you can't change.
Yeah.
So whether it's a location, maybe an area in the town where it's known to not be so favorable, you might be the best house on the worst street, and that's a personal preference. It's not something that we ever sort of say like, oh, by the way, people don't like this street. Like, we'd never do that. That's a personal preference. If you don't like it, then that's on you.
Yeah.
But some people
Legally we can't.
Yeah.
We probably think things in our head sometimes.
We can think like, okay, I wouldn't want to live near a school, or I wouldn't want to live near, an airport or something like that.
And
Things
you and
that
Tracy
can't-
brought this up.
Yes.
Right. A couple weeks ago, when I had that Saturday off, it was glorious. I was listening to you and Tracy Grady, of course, from the Grady team, her and her husband, Jim, full-time real estate agents here at Boston Connect Real Estate, wonderful team. You were talking about this, and I think it's really important for you to do your due diligence when you are a buyer, and I think as a seller you have to recognize it too. what is going on. One of the scarier things for me when it comes to location is when it seems and appears to be a perfect location. So, oh, you are budding, this open land or something. So actually it came up at Cushing Trail the other day. Somebody had asked, oh, well, are they going to be building behind where this where the street is on Hayford? And I was like, well, my client doesn't own, Stonebridge doesn't own that land behind there, so I know my client isn't going to be building there. But I'll be honest, like, I don't know how big that lot is over there. I don't know if the seller is ever going to sell that land. I don't know, like, at this point right now, like, I don't know what it will be. So you really should do your due diligence on that if that's something that's really important to you.
Yeah.
But there are things that I just can't answer. I just don't know the answer to. The more obvious things are, if you are next to a school and, how will that impact you? That's good and bad, right? If you have young kids, it's great. You can walk to school with them and all that. I know that, I've been talking to somebody about putting on their property soon. And, with them, the location is next door. There's like a yard, like a car, well, it has cars in it.
Yeah.
Not like not sales, but like junk,
like
card.
a junkyard.
Yeah. They call it something else, but like you can buy auto parts and stuff like that, used parts from it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And as much as, people are going to be like, ugh, I don't want to be next to that, I hope that they take the opportunity to go inside this home because it's absolutely beautiful. And guess what? The good news is there's no noise when they close, right?
Yeah.
So if they close at 5 o'clock and they're maybe open until 12 on Saturday.
You had that during Jefferson.
Yes, Jefferson Square is another good example. Behind it is a small little industrial park. It's where Tiny and Sons is, right? So if you need glass, you hear their commercials here on WATD all the time, and wonderful people over there. And what was that? I was going to say something, but I don't remember. Oh, so like people were worried about an industrial park being there, and I was like, well, once everybody's closed, they're closed for the night, so you don't have that constant noise going on. So, yeah, just really, if you do a Google search of a house, I think that everybody is doing that anyways, and you're looking to see what's around the area. Don't eliminate something because something might be, look or appear to be awful. It might not be that awful when you get there. And a lot of times, and when I was talking to the seller is, hey, we have some really good, well, we have a couple comps really for this house. Maybe they're in a different area with not that next door, but the house is priced according to that.
Right.
If your house was where this other house was, your house would be on the market for more money.
Well, we talked about this last week. Did I do the show with Tracy last week or the week before?
Week before.
Week before. Okay. So we talked about this and doing a drive-by of a property and just, whether it's during, if it's near a school, go during school hours, after school hours or whatever. No matter what the property is, always do a drive-by because, first impressions do matter, but you get a feel for the neighborhood if you're just driving by.
Yeah. And do drive-bys different times of the day. So I opened up last year about, some of the things I'm going through with my dad. My dad has Lewy body dementia, and the previous 2 years have been quite the struggle. And I finally got into this mindset of this didn't happen to me, it happened for me, so I can be in a better position to help my clients who are going through something similar with their family, their loved ones, and things like that. And, one of the things I've been saying is, I reached out to somebody, I reached out to Bridges. I do want to give them a little shout out. And a woman there was wonderful. And I asked if I could go to some of their classes just like for support, like caregiver support. And one of the things I wish I had done is I didn't realize with my dad until it was like, wow, I didn't know that this was going on because I would see him always the same time. So like if I saw him on a weekend, I've never really saw my dad. I didn't realize it because he was in his own place. Like I didn't see him after 4 o'clock generally or after 5 o'clock. If it was on the holidays, whatever, you don't pick up on certain things. So I wish that I had gone and visited my dad, hey, let's pop in on a Tuesday at 6 o'clock and see what's going on. I wish I had gone on a Saturday at 3 or 4. I wish I switched it up. That's the same thing when you're buying a house. Don't go, oh, on my way home from work, I'm going to swing by and swing by. go on your way to work, on your way home from work, at lunchtime, on a weekday, on a weekend. So that's my advice.
Perfect. Another thing is, outdated features or necessary repairs. So those are things that would definitely probably need to be done, in order to get some.
I mean, if a cabinet door is hanging off its hinge,
No,
just
but
tighten it
if
up.
you have a hole in your roof, you should probably do something about that or price it accordingly. Oh,
Yeah.
we're getting our outro.
Yeah, we're getting our outro.
Anyway, so you do have a new listing. Also, we'll promote that for a second. It is 523 Washington Street, Unit A2 in Pembroke. That is on the market for $369.9, and Mary will be doing an open house there from 10 to 12 today.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, you can always get us at Cushing Trails in Hanson, 10 to 12 every Saturday and Sunday. Cochise Estates in West Bridgewater every Saturday and Sunday, 10 to 2. If you want a private appointment, just give me a call, 781-294-4848. That's all my new construction. If you are thinking about buying or selling a home, please feel free to call me and we can talk, 781-294-4848. Have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend. Bye, Tim.
Bye, Tim.
Bye.
I have always wanted to have a neighbor just like you. I've always wanted to live in a neighborhood with you. So let's make the most of this beautiful day.